Most people think UFC fighters become rich the moment they sign with the UFC. They see sold-out arenas, millions of pay-per-view buys, championship belts, luxury cars on Instagram, and knockout highlights watched by hundreds of millions of people around the world. From the outside, it looks like one of the most glamorous careers in sports. Fight a few times a year, win a couple of matches, become champion, retire a millionaire. Simple. At least, that's what it looks like. But the reality is very different, because behind every 15-minute fight are months of training, thousands of dollars in expenses, and years of sacrifice that most fans never see. Some UFC fighters make millions of dollars every year. Others struggle to pay their rent. Some become global superstars with businesses worth hundreds of millions. Others retire with permanent injuries and little savings. So why is there such a massive difference? How can two athletes competing in the same organization earn completely different incomes? The answer lies in understanding what the UFC is really selling. Because contrary to popular belief, the UFC isn't simply in the fighting business, it's in the entertainment business. And once you understand that, the economics of being a UFC fighter become much clearer. Today, we're uncovering where UFC fighters actually make their money, where that money goes, why some fighters become incredibly wealthy while others barely get by, and what separates the biggest stars from everyone else. Because in mixed martial arts, winning fights is only part of the business. The real game begins outside the cage. The business behind every fight. To understand how UFC fighters make money, we first need to understand how the UFC itself makes money. Think about it. When thousands of fans buy tickets to an event, what are they really paying for? They're not paying for the octagon, the lights, or the arena. They're paying to watch elite athletes compete. Without fighters, there is no event, no pay-per-view, no television deal, no sponsorship revenue. The fighters are the product that creates the entertainment. Every punch, every takedown, every knockout, every submission, every championship rivalry, every comeback story. That's what people spend money to watch. The UFC then turns that attention into revenue through multiple sources. Fans purchase tickets to watch events live. Millions of viewers buy pay-per-view events. Television companies pay enormous licensing fees for broadcasting rights. Brands pay to advertise during events. Merchandise is sold around the world. Video game companies license UFC fighters. Streaming platforms pay for content. Every successful event generates money from dozens of different directions. But here's something many people don't realize. Just because the UFC generates hundreds of millions of dollars doesn't mean every fighter earns millions. Just like employees at a large company, fighters are paid very differently depending on their value to the organization. Some athletes are just beginning their careers. Others have become global attractions capable of selling millions of pay-per-view purchases. And that's why fighter income varies so dramatically. So where does a fighter's money actually come from? Let's start with the most obvious source. Fight purse. Every time a fighter competes, they receive what's commonly known as a fight purse. This is the guaranteed amount they're paid simply for stepping into the octagon. Think of it as their base salary for that event. Whether the fight lasts 5 rounds, ends in 30 seconds, or is one of the greatest fights in UFC history, that guaranteed amount is still paid. But here's where things become interesting. Not every fighter earns the same purse. A newcomer making their UFC debut might earn only a fraction of what a championship headliner receives. Meanwhile, established stars who consistently attract viewers can negotiate much larger contracts. The difference isn't just fighting ability, it's business value. A fighter who brings millions of viewers is far more valuable than one who doesn't, because more viewers usually mean more revenue for the UFC. In other words, the UFC doesn't simply pay fighters for fighting. It pays them according to the value they create. And value isn't measured only by wins. Sometimes, personality matters just as much. Winning pays more than losing. For many UFC fighters, showing up isn't enough. Winning matters financially. Many contracts include what's known as a win bonus. Imagine 2 fighters enter the cage with identical contracts. Both receive payment for competing, but the winner walks away with additional money. Suddenly, victory doesn't just improve rankings, it improves income. That creates an incredibly powerful incentive. Every fight becomes more than a competition. It's also a financial opportunity. One successful performance can dramatically change a fighter's earnings for the year. And that's one reason every round matters so much. Because sometimes a single victory doesn't just move someone closer to a championship, it changes their financial future. But even winning isn't always the biggest payday. Sometimes something even more valuable happens. A fighter captures the attention of millions. And that's when another revenue stream begins, where the real money comes from. Winning a fight is exciting. Winning a championship is life-changing. But for many UFC fighters, neither guarantees financial success. Because some of the biggest paydays don't come from simply having your hand raised. They come from creating moments that fans never forget. A spectacular knockout, an incredible submission, a back-and-forth war that has the entire arena on its feet. These are the performances that keep people buying tickets and tuning in for future events. And the UFC rewards them. Performance bonuses. At the end of many UFC events, the organization awards special bonuses to fighters who deliver exceptional performances. These awards are separate from a fighter's regular purse. They're designed to reward athletes who create memorable moments inside the octagon. A perfectly timed knockout, a stunning submission, or a performance that leaves fans talking for weeks. For many fighters, receiving one of these bonuses can dramatically increase what they earn from a single night. In some cases, a bonus can equal or even exceed their guaranteed fight purse. That's why fighters often take risks instead of playing it safe. An unforgettable finish doesn't just earn applause. It can also lead to bigger paychecks, more media attention, and greater opportunities in the future.